here. So as we have started with the 3 steps of UML, which is also called as the conceptual model of UML. So the 3 steps are also called as conceptual model of UML. Okay. So the question can be asked in any way, but from this definitely you are going to get one question from unit 1. So these 3 steps are conceptual model. So these 3, so what are they? Basic building blocks, rules and common mechanisms. So under basic building blocks, what we studied? Things, relationships and diagrams. So coming to things, so what we have? Structural, behavioral, grouping
behavior,
and annotation.
annotation.
Okay. So here, what are structural? They are like nouns. And behavioral, they are like verbs. So grouping, they are like organizational. And annotational are nothing but the explanatory. Okay. So here, coming on to the first one, how it is represented? A rectangle with 3 compartments. First one, name. Yes, I want you to answer.
Attributes.
Name, attributes and operations. And then moving on to interactions. So how interactions are given graphically? Circle. Okay. And then collaboration, dotted ellipse. And then use case,
Interface.
solid ellipse. And then active class, it's just like a class, but the outer boundary will be solid lines. Component, 2 tabbed folder. And node, it's a cube. Okay. And then coming to interactions, how interactions are given? Arrow, solid arrow with solid pointing. State machines, yes ma'am, state machines, rounded rectangle.
Yes ma'am, rounded rectangle.
And package, the next one is under grouping, which is package. We call it as
folder.
Just tabbed folder.
So tabbed folder.
Now we see the folder icons on the desktops. Folders, the same symbol for package. Annotational, it's a note. How do we represent?
Written copy of the cell.
Dog-eared tabbed folder.
Dog-eared folder. Dog-eared cornered rectangle. So the text, whatever it is, we have to say the same thing in the text as well as the notations, how graphical it is given. Okay. So these are the things what we have learned already. Moving on to the relationships. So what are things first of all? They are the first class citizens. Why first class citizens? Which are very important. Without this UML language doesn't exist. So that's why we call them things as the first class citizens. What are the relationships? How to relate these things are done with some connections which are existing in the relationships. So coming on to our relationships, the first one is dependency. How do we give the symbol?
Dotted arrow.
Dotted lines with the arrow. Okay, dotted arrow also. Okay. And then moving on to the next one, association. Just solid line.
Solid line.
Okay, and then generalization.
Arrow.
Halo arrow. If you remember like this.
Okay, ma'am.
The pointing will be halo. Whereas realization, the dashed line.
Dotted arrow.
Dotted
With hollow arrow. It is the combination of dependency and association. the combination of dependency and association. So these two put together, you are getting realization. Okay, and then moving on to diagrams. So you just remember the first two are nothing but
Static.
diagrams, and the next five are, sorry, till here only. Next five are dynamic diagrams. The last two are physical diagrams. Okay. So among this again, sequence and collaboration put together, they are called as
Interaction diagram.
interaction diagrams. So I want everyone to be perfect with these things. Okay. Just a minute. Okay. So then, so today our topic is about rules So our topic is about rules and common mechanisms. So under rules, so we have different category. So before going to the rules, so first let's see so why we need rules and what are the rules here. So usually in general, any language may not be kept together in random fashion. See, we have learnt all this. Okay, the alphabets we have learned how to relate them, relating how we can make paragraphs or a page. So those things we have learned. But simply can we keep two letters together and say it as a word? Or simply can we keep 3 or 4 letters together and say it as a word? No. So in a random fashion, we cannot keep. So UML building blocks cannot simply kept together in a random fashion. Like any other languages, the UML has number of rules that specify for a system what are well defined. Okay. So in order to well define, so there we have some rules. So what are the rules? So here we have 5 rules. So they are, the first one is about names. So when I say about names, it's nothing but what we call the things. So each thing is named properly here and given the notations. So the name given to them are nothing but the things. So things should be very much specific. Okay. And also the relationships and diagrams, how these names can be linked and how they can be kept as a group. Okay. So that is what we are talking about names. So again, I just repeat, what we call things, relationships and diagrams are nothing but names. Okay. So the second rule is scope. The second rule is scope. So here, general meaning of scope is where exactly it can exist. What is the scope of a variable? When we say local variable, global variable, where exactly the scope of it is there means if it is defined within the local function, local variable we say. Outside the function, global variable. So however, we have the scope. So similarly here, the context that gives the meaning to names, where these names can exist. When I say names exist means whenever a class exists. So that is the scope of the particular class. So that is the second rule. And then moving on to the third one, that is visibility. Okay. So what do you mean by visibility? Visibility itself is what we can see. So what exactly we are able to visualize, that is what visibility. So that names that can be seen and used by others. So that is what the visibility. And then moving on to the next one, integrity. Integrity by the naming itself is said as integrity means collaborative work. So some integration should be there in order to perform a particular task. Okay, so that is what we say. The things are properly kept and related to one another to achieve a particular task. So that is what integrity. And the last one is execution. So execution means many times I told you at runtime where exactly a model can simulate. So you have written some program. So what exactly that program execution you want to see? So when you execute, you can see the output of it. Or if you get errors, again debug and then you see the execution. So similarly here, the execution under rules, our fifth rule is about execution. That means simulating. So since here we are not talking about any code, since we are talking about a models only in UML, so we are saying about simulation of the model. At the end, what exactly during execution, what we have. Okay. So here, based on this, based on this all 5 rules, so here the deployment teams not only build the rules which are well formed, but also the models which are elided, incomplete and inconsistent. I just repeat, make a note of it. Deployment teams not only build models that are well formed, but also buildings that are elided, ELIDED. Elided. So that means certain things are hidden to simplify the view. So instead of making very much complicated, so we can simplify things. Okay. So that is what the meaning of elided. And incomplete, something if it is missing some content of the model or some content of the project, if it is missing, then we say it as incomplete. And then we inconsistent. So inconsistent means if there is lack of integrity, there is no proper collaboration. So then inconsistent models may exist at the end. Okay. So these are the things what we have along with the well-formed models. So along with the well-formed models, these are the things which should not be there for a particular model. Okay. And then there are less than well-formed models that are unavoidable, as the details of the system cannot be made invisible and they can be done during the SDLC cycle. Okay. And the last one, what is the main advantage of using rules is the rules of UML encourages to address all the SDLC phases. So what are the different SDLC phases? We have analysis, design, implementation. So all the other things until you test and you give to the end users. So such models which are developed based on the rules, they become well-formed models, we say. whatever the model is developed, so such models are going to give the successful models, so which we call them as well-formed models. Okay, so these are the things about the rules here what we have learned. So these are the rules and the different 5 rules of that. So names means what are the things, diagrams, so what are all the basic building blocks. So names are nothing but all the basic building blocks what we are talking about, things, relationships and diagrams. So scope is nothing but where the name is having meaning, where it can exist. This name where it can exist, some meaning to that name in some environment is called scope. And then visibility, how that can be visualized, and then how that can be integrated, and how we get the end models. Okay, so while doing this, so the software deployment teams not only build the models, but also they may build models which are like some things are hidden, something may be missing, or it can be inconsistent. So such things will lead to unsuccessful project. Whereas the project which is depending on the rules, so that can be developed as a well-formed model. Okay, so this is the first topic I wanted to cover today. So the next topic is about common mechanisms. So before we go with common mechanisms, tell me what is a mechanism first? Anyone? A mechanism? Yes, ma, anyone can answer. Mechanism?
Rule.
So it's a procedure. It's a procedure where we, what we follow when we are doing something. Okay, so mechanism is a procedure what we follow when we are doing the models. So here again the mechanisms are again divided into 4. So moving to the first one. So first I'll just list out the things. So 4 mechanisms are there. The first one is specifications. And the next one is adornments. Third one, common divisions. And then extensibility mechanisms. Extensibility mechanisms. And again these extensibility mechanisms are again divided into 3. So when we come across those, I'll be telling. So here, so moving on to the first one, specification. So what exactly is the specification? So many times, as I told you, UML is not only the graphical and visualization language, but also it has many other details in it. So many other details means what exactly what you want to specify. The example I was telling you about, say about constructing an independent house or whatever. So how you want Vastu, where exactly it want, your specifications. So that also can be seen in a model. So that's why we say UML is not just a graphical and visualization language, but every graphical notation is having some importance, some specification. It is specified for something to say, along with some text statement. Some text statement means the name of the class, the name of the interface, so the name of the things. So that is what we say. And also the syntax and semantics. The syntax and semantics of the model. So that is what we say about specification. I just repeat, specification is every graphical notation, there is specification that provides some text and also the syntax and semantics of that building block. Block means any kind of these things can be a building block. So here, example, here they are saying about the class. So how the class is given? So a rectangle with 3 compartments. A rectangle with 3 compartments. Okay, so I'm not able to draw. So it's the 3 compartments what we have, how we had 2. So here it specifies that why 3 compartments. So each one is having some specification. The first block is meant for names. Names. The second block is meant for attributes. And then the third block is meant for operations. So that means it's not only giving the symbol. It's not only giving the symbol. It is specifying clearly that what is a class and how it is represented. In that, how many compartments are there? Each one is for what? So everything are specified clearly. Okay. So that is what we say about specifications. So again, I just repeat about the example. A class icon is a specification that provides the full set of attributes, operations that behave, and the contents of the complete class. But visually, when you just see in general, so sometimes the class in short form is just given as a rectangle only, where all its attributes and operations are compressed. Here we just give only name. So when some outsider is coming and just seeing this graphical notation, what he will just know? He will think that it's a class and with some name. Okay. So that is what the visual icon shows, only some part of the specification. But when we go into the details, then each one is for what can be specified. Okay. So we use graphical notation to visualize a system. You can just make a note of this point. UML, we use UML graphical notation to visualize. But we use specification. To state the system details. To say about the system details. So here they are talking about the visualization and specification. So visualization means just seeing. Visualization means just seeing what you can visualize. So here it's just seeing the contents. Whereas specifications, what is the specification? All the details you are going to see. Okay, so that is the difference of visualization and specification. Visualization means what exactly you can see, whereas specification, all the details, not only visualizing, the details of it is specifically given, complete details. So that is what the specification. And then the next one we talk about adornments. So what is adornment? So this is nothing but in addition to. So what exactly you are going to talk about? So what exactly in addition to, that is what the adornments. So say suppose we have the class notation, the same example I am taking. So what is the simplified form? Just a rectangle. In specified form, we have 3 compartments, each one is for what? But what exactly we can say adornments here? We can include the other details as whether it is abstract class or the attributes here, their visibilities and all. So here, so when I say about the adornments, just trying to tell you this. Again, it's come there. So here, when we have attributes in the second compartment, say suppose you have window class. Okay, you have window class. Okay, so okay, you have window class, and the next one is attributes. So whenever what are the different attributes you can say for a particular window? The size of it, the size of the window, okay, or length and breadth of the window. So the color. So all that can be said as attributes. These attributes visibility means we can say something about public, private and protected. Public, private and protected. So how I can give public? So it is by using the symbol plus. Okay, private. So it is using the symbol minus. Protected, it should be hash. So for every attribute, whatever you might be specifying here. So here you can specify this is a public attribute. This is a private attribute. Private attribute. If it is protected, so protected attribute. Okay. So along with the existing things, if you are going to add some more informations to the existing one, like the visibility or whether it is abstract or concrete classes, and the operations are also, you can give the visibility, how they are existing. So if you can give the visibility of operations and attributes, so then also it can be in addition to the existing one, what more you can add. So that is what adornments, add on to adornments. Okay. So the next one, common division. So here common division. So that means there is some division between the different icons. So in object-oriented system of programming, often the world gets divided at least in some couple of ways. So here we have what is the difference between a class and an object. So here again, the common divisions we are talking three. So the first one is the division between class and object. Okay, so how exactly we are giving a class? So I just told you. So the class with the 3 compartments, whereas the object you can just give the rectangle. Sorry, ma'am. Okay, just leave that. So it's not a pentagon. Object is something where we have as a rectangle. So the other day I was telling you about rectangle where you have the colon. So starting with the class name and the object name, and it should be underlined. It should be underlined. So I'll try to show you in the text box if I can. So here class name is say some window. Okay, so class name colon say some win is the object name, and it should be underlined. So here I'm not getting the option. So it should be underlined. So that is what we can say about the object. So how exactly they are divided? See, I'm just concentrating on the graphical notations only. Already you know the theoretical and logically what they meant. Okay. So common divisions, the first one is the division of classes and objects. So how classes are given and how objects are given, and objects are the instances of classes. So then moving on to the next one. The second division is between interface and implementation. Interface and implementation. So how I can draw this diagram here is the interfaces are the circle representations, and implementation means it can be related to any component or any class. So how can I give a component? It is a 2-tabbed folder. So whatever we are talking, we should be able to express in the graphical notations. So here using this component, say some spelling dot DLL, it's given. So DLL means, yes ma'am, DLL means libraries, no? So here using these libraries, these interfaces can be implemented. So interfaces have the abstract methods. So these abstract methods can be implemented using by this .dll. Okay, so that's how we say about the interfaces and implementation. So that is the second common divisions. And then moving on to the last one, extensibility mechanisms. So extensibility mechanisms means whatever is existing. Okay, so it may be sufficient for now, but later in future in upcoming years. So if it is, it may not will be apt at that situation. So for which what they have given some extensibilities which can be extended to. So how we have the different versions of any mobile or TV, or maybe if you take softwares, older version, latest version. So some 3.1. So those are the versions. So version means there is some updation in that related to the current time. So similarly, we have some mechanisms. Already we learned what are common mechanisms. Mechanism we learned. But what again extensibility mechanisms? Though we have some mechanisms, so these mechanisms can be extended in future if they are necessary. Okay. So what are extensibility mechanisms? So extensibility mechanisms are again divided into 3. Okay, so the first one is stereotype. And the second one is tagged values. The next one is constraints. Okay, so here okay, so I'm talking about extensibility mechanisms. So under extensibility mechanisms, we have stereotypes, tagged values, and constraints. So what exactly is stereotype? So when we want to include so what are stereotypes means when we want to extend some vocabulary. So if the vocabulary has to be extended, okay, so then we use stereotypes. And tagged values are when we want to extend the properties. And then constraints is nothing but adding some rules. Add new rules. Okay, that is about the constraints. Okay, so vocabulary and constraints, see here. So moving on to the first one about the stereotypes. So these 3 things I'll just show you in the Word document. You are able to view my screen, right? All of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so here we have learnt about rules. What are all the rules we have? So the software team, they may develop the things which are elided, incomplete, and consistent. And moving on to the next topic, common mechanisms in UML. So 4 mechanisms we have: specifications, adornments. Just now I was telling you about the adornments. And then we have the class under common divisions. First one, class and object divisions. So object can be given like this. Okay. So, and then it's the division of interface and implementation. So these two interfaces, by depending on this .dll libraries, so that can be implemented. So now we are talking about extensibility mechanisms, how the language can be extended by adding some more mechanisms. So here if you see this example, so this example covers all the 3 here. So from this example, what exactly we can infer is, so this is a class first of all. Okay, event queue is a class name. Okay, and no attributes are specified for this, but its operations are add operation, remove operation, and flush operation. Okay, so here in event queue, so what we are talking about, the different versions here. So I'll tell you each one in detail, but moving on to the first one. First one, stereotypes. So stereotype means extending vocabulary. Say suppose in general programming languages, the execution of normal program is, it's a simple one. But if any exceptions are coming, how exactly you are going to handle? So these exceptions, whatever the exceptions we are talking about, this we can say as, we are handling them as by giving a stereotype here. So stereotype is given within the 2 square brackets. We call them as guillemets. And within the guillemets, you are going to write the name. So whatever the extended vocabulary or for any class, anything you are writing, so this is also a class again. Overflow is also again a class, but it is the exception case. Okay. So here this exception, how we are taking, it is extending the vocabulary. The existence of the normal code can be extended if you can take some instructions for overflow and all. So that is what exception. So this exceptions come under extending vocabulary. Extending vocabulary means the first one under extensibility mechanisms. What is that? Stereotypes. So how a stereotype is given within 2 braces, opening and closing, two square angular braces, and by giving the name. So this angular braces we call them as guillemets, and with the name. So now this exception term, whatever we are writing here, so that means it's a stereotype. We call this as a stereotype. Okay, so that is about the stereotypes. And then moving on to the tagged values. So how we can tag the values? Say the event queue class is there. So I want to tell what are its versions and all. So in general, just giving the class name is simple. But whereas I want to show some more properties of it, extending the properties of it. So then I give within the flower braces and I specify what is the version, author and all. Okay. So now, so this giving the more details about a particular class, it's nothing but the extending properties. What are extending properties? They are nothing but the tagged values. Okay. And then moving on to the third one, constraints, adding rules. Maybe already we have rules and semantics. So class notation is this, name, these are the operations, and adornments. If I want, I can give public, private, and protected. Not only that, but still more. We have some rules, but in future, if at all we want, how to give rules. So for addition operation, I want to make it a rule that in a particular order, some condition. So if some order is there only, then only this operation should get executed. So this is what the rule I am imposing on this add function. Okay. So adding new rules is nothing but called as constraints. Okay. Hope all of you this is clear. So again, I just repeat this. The last one in common mechanisms is extensibility mechanisms. So extensibility mechanisms means for the existing mechanisms in future what can be extended. So that is stereotypes, tagged values and constraints. Stereotyped are nothing but extending the vocabulary. So when I say extending the vocabulary, so if at all we have some exceptions and all, how we can take over them. So that is what extending vocabulary. And then moving on to the next one, tagged values. This is nothing but extending the properties. What more details you can give about a class? That is about properties. And then coming to constraints to the existing rules. If at all you want to give any more rules extra, so then that is what the constraints. Okay. So these are the two topics what I wanted to cover today.